Everybody, welcome back to the latest edition of Gun on One. It is powered by the Inside the Birds Network and sponsored by my bookie. I'm Derrick Gunn. Well, my guest for this podcast, I guess saying the word is a special guest is an understatement. When I moved to this area back in 1997, he's one of the first voices and names that I gravitated towards for over 3 decades. He was the voice of the Philadelphia sports fan. You either agreed with him or you didn't. You either liked him or you didn't. There was no gray area with this guy. He is allegedly retired now, and he's written a book called Loud, which I think is an appropriate title for this particular book. He is the one, the only Angelo Cataldi. My man, it's been a long time since we've chatted. How you doing?
Gunner, I love your work, my friend. And wouldn't you know that I get booked on the day after the worst Eagles loss of the season? Is that, I got all these people on this book tour, Gunner. They're saying to me, man, I wish I could hear you the day after a game. I'm thinking this morning, you don't want to hear me today because I'm real negative. I'm real negative.
Well, I cannot wait to talk to you about the book. We're going to hold that for a little bit later. But I'm glad you mentioned that game Sunday night, that fiasco, because I've got to get your perspective on a number of topics on the sports scene here. And let's talk about that devastating, embarrassing, humiliating loss on Sunday night to the 49ers. If you were behind the mic on this day, how would you analyze and break this game down?
All right, let's start with this. If you do read the book, you'll learn very quickly I have no actual intimate knowledge of anything, including football, all right? So when I can see something, and the experts, the coaches, the players are not acknowledging it, it frustrates me because it's so simple to me. This Eagles defense, the pass part of it, the pass defense has been bad all year. Yes. They were ranked 2 weeks ago, 28th out of 32. Last week, 29th. This week, 30th. The Commanders and the Chargers are the only team worse at covering the pass than the Eagles are. Gunnar, it's not just like yesterday, 456 yards. And the Niners got none of those yards in the first quarter. They went 3 and out twice. 456 yards, 6 consecutive touchdown drives, 5 of them 70 or more yards. And the problem here goes beyond the game against the Niners. It's that the Eagles didn't address it after blowing a Super Bowl in the second half. And if anything, have a weaker defensive secondary now than they did a year ago. Add to that the fact that the philosophy is bend but don't break. And you got teams going up and down the field, up and down the field. That's not the recipe for a championship, Gunner. It isn't.
All right, I'm really going to stoke your fire now. Ever since the 49ers lost that NFC Championship game, they have been talking a lot of smack about if we had our quarterback, they are not the better team. Deebo Samuel, leading up to this game, said, I'm not backtracking from anything that I've said. Then they come into Philadelphia's backyard and put a beat down on them in front of a national audience at Lincoln Financial Field. Angelo, that's got to make it a whole lot worse.
Right. I got to tell you the truth, Gunnar. If I was giving a game ball out to the Eagles, I would have given it to the security director, Dom DeSandro. He took a grazing blow to the chin. And I'm not sure anybody else did anything that good. That was the thing now. This was a character game. I had done Frisco radio on Friday, and they said it was almost like the second championship game for them. They wanted revenge. Where was the fight in the Eagles? Where was the defense after the first quarter? You know more football than I do. What are they doing out there?
I don't know, Angelo. We've been analyzing this team, this thing, the whole season, and we've all kept saying, you look at the manner in which they've won a lot of their games. It's come from behind, last second heroics or the opposition not making a play to keep a drive alive. And you know what? You live by the sword, you die by the sword. And man, did this team fall on the sword on Sunday. But Nick Sirianni overall has been winning at a historic clip here. They've won 24 of the last 29 games. So I have to ask you this. Do you believe in the head coach, the quarterback, and this team's Super Bowl potential?
Not this year. I don't.
Ooh.
I didn't before the game. I predicted on 93 stations I was on last week that the Eagles were not going to win that game because if you have a really smart quarterback, and Purdy is that, he's going to see all those open people downfield. Yeah. So you either have to get right on him, the way the Eagles did much better last year. The pass rush was stronger last year. Or you better have somebody covering something to make a play. And those guys were wide open all day. How do you lead George Kittle that open? How do you let Deebo Samuel caught a ball and ran right through the secondary like they were all in mud? How does that happen? I don't. When you're watching that, you go, well, who should I blame for this? Well, I'm starting at the very top because the Eagles have had many chances to get linebackers. They have never made a real priority out of that. That's one thing they've done wrong. The secondary is getting older, and they haven't really acknowledged that. Big play Slay has become no play Slay. And I'm just looking at all that, and I'm going, at some point, you're going to pay the price for that. I got a bad feeling it's the next 2 weeks. Gunnar, I think they're going to have struggles in Dallas and on a Monday night game in Seattle. I'm really worried that this is the first of a 3-game losing streak, at which point all bets are off and the city is in mourning. They're expecting the worst. I need to see something. Look, Hurts has covered a lot of these mistakes. He has made big plays in big moments. But he's not going to get you back from 42 to 17 after he just got conked in the head and had to go for concussion protocol. There's only so much he could do. I'm not laying a lot of it on him. I'm laying it on the secondary and the philosophy of the organization not to cover those positions better.
Angelo, speaking of the secondary, I posted something on Twitter/X after the game that people really picked up on. I said, the additions of Byard and Roby have not helped the woes on the back end of that defense. And people thought those two additions, when they get healthy, when they get acclimated, is it the personnel or is it the scheme of Sean Desai back there?
It's on this one, I will defer to a very good friend of ours, Mr. Seth Joyner. All right. And I've been exchanging texts with him because he's right now is involved in a social media debate with Darius Slay.
Yes.
And Seth, who played the kind of defense I loved, ferocious, right? Seth said they're not intimidating anybody. When they get a chance to hit people, they're not really punishing them. They're not letting them know you come over the middle, you're going to pay the price. And Slay took offense, and he said that Seth was talking out of his neck. Which Gunnar, I don't even know what that means. I guess it was negative. And that basically, Seth came back at him and he said, look, you didn't tackle worth the damn and tell me I'm wrong or something like that. But I'm with Seth. I like a really physical defense, and this team is not that.
If this team loses, and you brought it up a moment ago, if this team loses to Dallas on Sunday, will they lose the fan base trust? And is the honeymoon over between, Sirianni, Hurts, and the fans?
That's going to depend on how it is. If it's a close game, like most of the games have been this year, people could rationalize it. The real problem will be if they then go to Seattle and lose. Remember, that Monday night game, Seattle's a tough place to play.
Yes,
and
indeed.
That game probably going to be for Seattle's chance to make the playoffs. So that's going to be a tough win right there. So I think people, if it's a close game, people will begin the process of panic. They would panic quicker if I was still there, because I tried to get them to panic real fast. But they will panic if they lose to Seattle. Even with 3 lousy teams, 2 Giants and 1 Cardinals to go, the fans will not have the same feeling that they have at 10-2.
All right. Now, we sit here today, and we have a lot of question marks about this team moving forward. It is a talented team.
Yes.
Has not been playing up to expectation, but they've won most of their games. As they move forward, is anything short of a Super Bowl trophy this season acceptable?
No. Oh, God, no. You were in the Super Bowl a year ago and should have won it. So, no, you have to win a Super Bowl. And if that doesn't happen, I don't think any coaches are in trouble. Maybe Desai is going. Somebody will probably be a fall guy only because they're going to need to blame somebody. And Howie Roseman certainly won't blame himself. Jeff Lurie won't blame himself. The owner never blames himself. So now you're getting down in the pecking order. Somebody will probably take the hit. But I would love to believe that they will just come out next Sunday night, you know, embarrassed the way they were at home yesterday, and will find a way to play more aggressively, especially on defense. That's what would work. They've got a defensive line, Gunner, that can terrorize quarterbacks. If you add a couple of blitzers and force that offensive line to stop them all, Reddick will run amok. He could do it, though. The Cowboys' offensive line isn't that great. Right. But you have to be aggressive. And it's not like, all right, you got less people to cover the pass. Do you see anybody getting covered anyway? I don't see it.
No. How do you expect them to be? How do you expect them to be more aggressive if the cornerbacks, the Pro Bowl caliber cornerbacks, are playing 7 to 10 yards off the ball?
Ridiculous. And ridiculous, because then they could just throw a 5-yard pass out and run right through the defense. No, get up on them. But we should be running this team. We'd be undefeated right now.
We'd be undefeated or run out of town, Angelo. Hey, I want to hone in on the quarterbacks for just a moment because, you know, you were known for being hard on Donovan McNabb's temperament to play in this city. Are you more optimistic about Jalen Hurts' temperament?
I am in love with Jalen Hurts' temperament.
Okay.
Now, keep in mind, I no longer need cuts to play on a Monday morning because he's nothing in the press conference. But the guy, I just love his mentality. I think it's fantastic. I'll go even further on this, Gunner. He's my favorite Eagle in 33 years.
Wow.
He's my favorite. Of all the different Eagle quarterbacks, at least. Maybe Kelsey and he are my two favorite Eagles of all time. But he's my favorite Eagle quarterback. And I'll go further. I think the best wide receiver in the past 40 years is on the team right now, and that's A.J. Brown. I love him.
I couldn't agree with you more.
So, yeah, there's the offense, man. They have one major problem, and that's play calling in the red zone. It's not creative enough. I watch the red zone channel when I'm not watching Eagle games, and I'm seeing lots of creativity inside the 20. And I saw some of it with the Niners yesterday. I don't see it with the Eagles. The Eagles need a little more deceptive package than they're using right now. And remember, they don't need 20 yards once they hit the red zone.
That's right.
They need 19 because we know they're getting in from the 1.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Come on, guys. Get a little more creative. I hope this was a wake-up call, Gunner. That's my best hope. It's a wake-up call, and they'll get down to business this week and start to really plan for the best. They haven't had a great game the whole season.
No.
Maybe it's next Sunday night. I'd love to see it.
You know, it's funny. We're sitting here talking about more creativity in the Eagles offense play calling 12 games into a season. The fan base has been screaming for weeks, fire Brian Johnson, fire Brian Johnson. No. If you were behind the mic, would you be saying that also?
No, I would not be saying that. First of all, Brian Johnson is just one of many minds working on those scripts. I will say the scripts seem to work better. Mike Quick said something amazing during the game yesterday. I always listen to the radio broadcast when I'm watching the game. And Mike Quick said that yesterday, most of the Eagles' offensive plays that were effective were improvised. That basically they were not play calls. That basically Hurts was dropping back and, take a left at the sewer cap. It was like they were doing a lot of improv. And he said those plays were working well. Well, that's not the way it should be in the NFL. So, but I'm not just going to lay it on the new guy because their offense has been a lot less a problem than the defense. No, I think the problem is right now they've relied too much on the elusiveness of Jalen Hurts and not enough on drop back 3 steps and throw the ball. Too much laying back there, getting trapped, and then having to throw the ball away. They need to come up with a little more of a real plan on how they're going to go after those defenses.
We are chopping it up with the legendary Angelo Cataldi, talking football. We're going to talk some baseball and some basketball, talk about life, and just as importantly, his new book called Loud. That and more coming up on this edition of Gun on One. Stay right where you are. Hey, everybody, let's talk about the beauty of my bookie. You see, it's not just about watching games, but turning every second into a potential win. You see, with my bookie, you can stream the games and live bet them and turn any game day into a payday. So, are you ready to up your game? Sign up today and make your first deposit using the promo code GUNN, GUNN, all caps, for a sweet deposit bonus of up to $1,000. That's promo code GUNN, GUNN, all caps, to claim your bonus. Now, this isn't just a promo code, it's your secret weapon to get the extra edge on the house. Now, the best part is you don't need to be a sports win to win at MyBookie. You can cash in on everything from politics to your favorite shows and then some. So bet anything, anytime, and anywhere only with MyBookie. And we are back with Angelo Cataldi, and I want to pick it up with this, Angelo. Nick Sirianni seems to embrace this fan base more than all of his predecessors, and sometimes he's even shown that he can be a hothead. Do you appreciate that element of his personality?
I could tell you about a text exchange I had with my son Neil yesterday. He's a Giants fan. It's a long story. It's bad parenting. But anyway, and when there was the altercation on the sideline, my son said he was hoping that one of the San Francisco players would punch Sirianni in the face. That's my son. But the fact is, whenever you have a coach that is aggravating the opponents, that's my guy. And I love the emotion on the sideline. He's not the greatest interviewer I've ever had. He really is very protective of his players. Yep. But I got no qualms with Nick. Look at his record. You can't, if you're screaming and yelling about a guy that's had that kind of record his first almost 3 seasons, well, you're just being ridiculous. What's going on right now, though, is a crisis for him, because if they fade and do nothing the rest of this year, which could happen with that defense, especially the pass defense, people are going to have a different feeling about him. He's going to be, he pretty much has owned the town without winning a championship so far. He's 2 losses away from having that change. This may be the most important week of his career in Philadelphia, because this is where he could really begin to lose the fan base.
Ooh, you know what? I think there are a lot of people that might agree with you in that regard. And let's face it, his first year, this team was going nowhere. All of a sudden, it got hot, got to the playoffs. Nobody expected that. Right. Last year, Howie Roseman gives him a loaded roster. They get within 3 points of winning the Super Bowl. You're right. He's not had a lot of negativity thrown his way. He has not faced the full wrath of this Eagles fan base like an Andy Reid, a Doc Rivers, so on and so forth. It's going to be interesting to see how he handles that, should that occur.
Yeah, and I'm not positive he'll do great with that, because he mixes it up. He's very emotional. Yeah, I like that about him. All right, I want him to be more outspoken. I want him to show more of the personality we see on the sideline in news conferences, other places. That would resonate with the fans in this city. Yeah. The fans in this city want an aggressive coach and an aggressive team. That's what the Eagles made they made a leap in this city, even though he didn't win anything, when Buddy Ryan was here, because that take no prisoners approach on and off the field. Wow. Gunner, you may remember before Buddy got here, the Eagles were not even selling out every game. It was touch and go on blackouts. Sometimes the TV station would buy the last 3,000 tickets so we could see the game. That never happened after Buddy, because Buddy connected with the people, even though he never won a playoff game. I'm like, show me a little more of that. I used to say that to Nick when I saw him not on the air. I would say to him, Nick, we need a little more of that. He said, no, you're getting too much now. You don't want any more of that.
Hey, one of your favorites, Howie Roseman, has been given a lot of praise for the way he has built this roster over the last couple of seasons. What's your opinion of the job he's done in that department?
All right. He did an amazing job before last season.
Yep.
Amazing job. And that team was, in my estimation, more talented than this one, and probably more talented than the one that won the Super Bowl. That was the year. And they had one big problem. They had an awful defensive coordinator, Jonathan Gannon. who was more interested in finding his next job than he was in coaching in the Super Bowl, and they flopped in the second half. And to me, that was not. I'm not putting that one on Sirianni. I'm putting that squarely on Gannon and the philosophy of the organization. But you're at a point now, Gunner. Yeah. 3 years in, there's no honeymoon that lasts 3 years in Philadelphia. No. So you're either going to go into Dallas next week and kick their ass. Oh, you do that, you're gold. All right, you're set. You don't even need to win the Super Bowl. Just go in there and beat the hell. Show Jerry Jones up there really upset. People, maybe even Chris Christie up there with him. In the big D. You show that, and the city loves you again. Go in there and play like you did against the Niners. I'm almost happy I'm not going to be on the air the next day. Gunner, I wouldn't know what to do. I wouldn't know what to do.
All right, Angelo. All right, I gotta throw some basketball questions at you real quick here. Now, for the first time, the NBA is trying this in-season tournament. Right. What's your opinion of that? Do you like it? Don't like it?
What? I don't like it. I don't need it. It's just the fake way to try to get these overpaid players to play hard when they won't. I get, each guy gets $500,000 if they win it. That's good for the guys in the back end of their bench, right? I mean, that's a lot of money for them. Yeah. No, and I don't even like what they do at the court. The court looks stupid.
Yeah, I don't get that. Yeah.
I don't, Gunner, that isn't the way. I don't know what the way is to get them not to, take days off when they shouldn't be and stuff like that. But that isn't it. It's contrived. They're stealing it from soccer. And who the hell likes soccer?
I'm not going that far, Angelo. You're not dragging me down that mud pit. Don't get me started on that one. Hey, do you think Joel Embiid will ever lead the Sixers to an NBA championship?
Wow, it's getting later in the conversation now. That's a great question because he's a hell of a basketball player.
Yes,
he really is, but also quirky. I'm not positive how easy he is to deal with behind the scenes. Maxey is a good compliment to him.
Yes.
Getting rid of Harden was a positive because Harden wasn't going to help. But it still feels like they're a player short. They need somebody else to add to that. Real marksman, a great outside three-point guy. I'm not ruling it out, but it seems like every year there's another team that looks better than they do.
Yeah.
And I'm not a fan of Josh Harris, the owner. He doesn't really care about winning. He cares about the ledger sheet. And that I'm not happy with. I don't like Harris, and I don't like the Center City proposal for the arena. Keep it where it is. That's a perfect place.
Then you must be seething over the fact that he bought the Washington Commanders.
No, I'm happy. That means that the Eagles will not have to worry about the Commanders for at least the next decade. I'm pleased with that.
Hey, let me ask you this. If you had a say in who stays and who goes,
right,
who would it be between Joel and Daryl Morey?
Oh, Morey. I would see if I could get Morey back with Harden. It seems like they have this love affair that went bad here. Let's see if we can get those boys back together one more time. Jeez. No, Morey, what's Morey done here? Morey was coming in. He was going to do so much. What did he do?
He's got you in the second round of the playoffs a couple of years in a row, Angelo. That's not good enough.
I sacrificed 4 years of my life during the process. No, it is not good enough. No. Definitely not.
Hey, I got to ask you this because I don't want to take up a whole lot of your time, but I can't thank you enough for hanging out with me today. But you've always been tough on superstars who did not live up to expectations. I got to get your opinion on this. Your thoughts on the standing ovation that Trey Turner got at the lowest point of his season and how he turned it around after that.
Yeah. On this book tour, I've been asked if I ever wished I was back. And the one day I wished I was back is the day after. My former intern, Jack Fritz, producer on the afternoon show at WIP, came up with this brainstorm to give a standing ovation, a guy making $300 million who was hitting like 2/3. I would have come on the next day with one goal, Gunner, sabotage the effort.
Oh, geez.
And unfortunately, this shows you what a dinosaur I am. They did it. It worked. He played a lot better because of that ovation. That's when I knew. I was like, all right, my time's up. Now, what did I do? I booed McNabb at the draft. I did all these negative things in my time here. A standing ovation for a guy who's failing, that was not in my repertoire. Not close.
Hey, speaking of $300 million athletes, has the Bryce Harper contract been worth it?
Oh, God, yes.
Okay.
Here's why. Number one, great player. Great player in the clutch. And even more important, mindset. You see the way he plays the game. You see what he's like in the locker room. That's exactly what Seth Joyner and I are screaming about on the Eagles right now. Toughness, mental toughness. Make them pay. Stick it in their face. That's old-fashioned now, Gunner, but still what I like.
Do you agree with the Aaron Nola 7-year contract?
No, I do not. He's coming off a 4.5 earned run average season, and now he's set for life and maybe 3 generations beyond him. No, I would have tried to use that money in a different way. I think they could have gotten somebody better. They trade for Corbin Burns, somebody like that. I'm not sold on him. I love Wheeler, but I'm not sold on Nola.
Okay. All right. Angelo Cataldi has been gracious enough to sit here and chat with me on Gun on One. We're going to step aside one more time and come back because we still need to talk about Angelo's life after the microphone and, more importantly, the book, Loud. We're going to talk about those topics and a few more on the other side. You know what's as frustrating as your favorite team losing? How about trying to find tickets online? That's why you need the Game Time app. The fast, easy way to buy tickets for sporting events, concerts, and shows near you. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, and their best price guaranteed, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. Right now in the Game Time app, you are 2 apps away from tickets for the Birds, Flyers, Sixers, college hoops, the Nutcracker at the Academy of Music, and comedians at Helium. Now, the best part is Game Time offers event cancellation protection, even job loss protection. Game Time is the only ticketing app that gives you complete peace of mind with your purchase. Their all-in prices show you the total up front, and you can see the view from your seat so you know exactly what to expect at checkout. Game Time is obsessed with helping you save. They offer deals right up to the start of an event and even an hour after it. Game Time's zone deals let you pick the section while Game Time picks the seats to give you the best savings. Now, the Game Time guarantee makes sure you get the best price. If you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. So download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code BIRDS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and use the redeem code BIRDS for $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. We are back with Angelo Cataldi, and we've talked about football, basketball, baseball. Now, we got to get into you, my friend. Life after the microphone. Now, without a microphone in front of you 5 days a week, how do you vent your Philadelphia sports opinions? Are you doing a podcast, or what do you do?
During games, like an Eagles game especially, I yell and scream so much, my dog runs out of the living room. All right, that's how bad it is. My wife tunes me out 100%. So honestly, it's been kind of cathartic to be on this book tour and have people who actually give a damn about my opinion. You know, I got a website, angelocatalia.com. I write for it most weeks. Okay. And then, but when I wrote today, I said basically, people are dying to hear what I said. Now that you've seen that I think the Eagles' pass defense stinks and that they're probably not going to win it this year, do you miss me now? I don't think so. You know, I was a negative force. And the fact is, you know what, Gunner? I picked the exact right time to do it. I had a great final year, 2 teams. I had the Phillies in the World Series. I had the Eagles in the Super Bowl. And I was done. I mean, I was 72 years old is old enough. Come on, I've been doing it for 33 years. It's time to give new people a shot, and they're doing a great job. Joe DeCamera, John Ritchie, and my good friend Rhea Hughes, they're doing great over there. And I'm just happy that I got to do it as long as I did. And the book is really dedicated to the fans. They kept me in way long. You heard my work. I didn't deserve 33 years, Gunner, maybe 15.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did.
Well,
because I said off the top, you either liked them or you didn't. You agreed with them or you didn't. But you had to listen to what Angelo was going to say next. When I got here to Philadelphia in '97, and I started asking people I worked with at Comcast Sports Network, now NBC Sports Philadelphia, who do I need to tap into? One of the first names that always came up with was Angelo Cataldi. And you were like my co-pilot in the morning when I drove 45 minutes to and from work. You know, in the mornings, you were like my co-pilot. And I'm going to tell you, you know, there were a lot of poignant opinions. I stole some ideas from you and used in my daily regime. And also, you were entertainment as well. You were like the consummate ringleader of a 3-ring circus. It was opinionated, it was informative, and it also gave you jovial moments as well. So I understand you trying to be humble about the situation, but the bottom line is you own the market for more than 3 decades.
Gunnar, I'm thrilled to hear that you stole some stuff from me, because
I can admit it now.
For many, many years, I stole cuts from your interviews in the locker room, because nobody, let me tell you, I was in the media for 50 years. Nobody got the best questions and the best answers than Derrick Gunn. The players trusted you, and that's hard. I never developed that in all the years. I don't have the personality to connect with players the way you did, but you got them to answer questions they wouldn't answer from somebody like me. So I would take the cut, I would remove your voice from it, and people would think somehow I had talked to these guys. So it's good that we stole from each other. That worked out. I feel better now.
So you're telling me you don't miss the job? You don't miss being behind the mic?
No, I honestly do not miss the job. And here's why. I wake up like around 4 or 5 every morning, because, you know, I have to go to the bathroom. And I look at the clock and I smile and I go, oh, I can go back to sleep. This is way better. I don't have to plan a show. The job is, I'll say this, Gunnar, the job is harder than people think it is. You got to do a lot of preparation for it. You got to know enough so that people will respect what you have to say, even if they don't agree with you.
What do you think the state of Philadelphia sports talk radio is right now? Do you like it, don't like it, or what?
It's kinder than in our heyday.
Okay.
In our heyday, as I look back on it, when I was doing the book, was we were out of control. Mid-90s, late 90s, we were just taking no prisoners.
Right.
And back then, it was more acceptable than it would be today. The world became more politically correct. There's a cancel culture now. And I even say in the book, there's a couple of times I would not have survived things that I had said in the culture that we have today. But I regret some of the things that I, did with people. I regret being a part of the booing of McNabb. It's interesting. Yeah. I told him this on, back then it was Comcast Sports. I told him this live on TV, and he nodded, accepted my apology for that ridiculous promotion that we did. And then we went to break, and stone silence.
Ooh.
I'll bet that never happened to you. Right? It never one time happened where you would do an interview, they were cordial and nice, but then when you went to break and they were still sitting there, it was like awkward silence. Happened to me quite a bit.
But I will say this though, there were times when I would do interviews and I had to ask certain questions.
Yeah.
And even though they answered the questions honestly, they would give me a look like, I can't believe you asked me that.
Yeah.
Then when the interview was over, they would say, D. Gunn, I thought we were supposed to be boys. I can't believe you put me on the spot like that. And here's what I would tell every subject, Angelo. Tell me one thing that I asked you that you didn't either say already or that wasn't true. And they look, and 100% of the time, Angelo, they would say, you know what, you're right. You're right. So they understood, number one, I was never going to embarrass them. I wasn't going to ask. There were a lot of things I could have asked the athletes that the general public to this day never knew about. And they knew that. And that includes higher ups as well. And because of that, that was a big reason why they gave me some of the stuff they gave me, Angelo, because
Right.
I didn't talk about certain other elements. But if you were starting your career today, could your style over 30 years work today?
No. In fact, 3 or 4 years into our time at WIP, Al Morgani, my co-host,
Yeah.
he still loves Boston. You know, I
Yep.
moved from Providence. He moved from Boston. We're both in New England. And we got a job offer, a really good job offer at a lot more money from WEEI in Boston. Because they saw that we were doing well in Philly. They were, we'll bring these guys here. It'll be great. Morning radio, Boston. And Al said, this will never work in Boston. They are kinder and gentler and sweeter, and they have hero worship. And all we do is rip into people. It would never work there. And I wanted the money. You know, I was going for the money. That's my loyalty back then, right? I hadn't bonded yet with the city. And Al said no. And Al, over those years, Gunner, how many times I was going to make the wrong decision, and Al wouldn't go along with it, and I did what Al wanted. Al knew it. So it took a long time for me to fully appreciate the fan base of this city, and vice versa, I think. Yeah, this wouldn't have worked in other cities when we did it. So it definitely wouldn't work now. Now you have to be different. Now they'll basically rebel against you if you say anything too strong. I got away with it the last 5 or 6 years because it was like a grandfather clause. Like, well, he's been here. This is the way he does it. But when he leaves, we're not doing it that way anymore. And they're not. And I think that's the right thing. I don't think it would work today.
So you spent 33 years behind the mic, and then early in retirement, you sit down and write this book called Loud.
Yep.
What motivated you to write the book, and how long had the book been in the works?
The book had been in the works in my brain for about a month.
Okay.
Right? But I knew that I didn't want to start it till it was done. Then I'm done. It's right a week after the Super Bowl. And I'm going, oh, I got to get this book out this calendar year. There's got to still be an Eagles season going. So I found a publisher, Triumph, in Chicago, who didn't know me from a hole in the wall. And I said, I need it out this year. They said, no, we can't do it. I said, well, then I won't do it. And they finally agreed. If I agreed to have the book done by the second week of April. So I had basically 7 weeks. And Gunner, I sat down and it just all poured out. I knew the framework, and then I just spilled out all these stories. And when I got to the end of it, I had 92,000 words. I found Ray Didinger to do the foreword. Wow. Which the one bad thing about it is the foreword's written better than the book. But but it was like, wow, this is going to be good. It really relives the 33 years. And even a little bit before, and what was going on behind the scenes. I was dealing with a lot personally during some of that time, and I put it all out there, and I think it came out really good, and it's selling really well. It's going into paperback on December 5th, on Tuesday, because they're pretty much sold out, the hardcover.
That's great.
Well, except for bookstores. You can get it there. You can still get it from me at AngeloCataldi.com.
Right.
I want to ask you something. So I'm getting a lot of requests to personalize the book using really negative language about the Cowboys. I mean, in some cases, profanity. And I have asked Mike Sealski, I've asked Ray Didinger. I'd like to ask you, if somebody asked you to sign a book with a profanity directed toward the Cowboys, are you too classy to do it?
I can't do it. I can't do it.
Yeah,
I can't do it. I would be more than willing to sign. If 100,000 people ask me to sign a copy of a book, to me, that's an honor that 100,000 people would want my signature in a book. But if you're going to ask me, even though I hate the Dallas Cowboys, that will always be known about your persona, is that you hated the Dallas Cowboys. Do you need to attach profanity to your signature? No.
See,
no. I would not stoop to that level, Angelo.
Mike Sealski said that. Ray Didinger said that. You said that.
Yeah.
I feel horrible. As soon as the check clears, I write it. Doesn't matter to me. I will be immortalized in the book with the F word. This is not good.
Don't tell me you've actually done it.
Gunner, I'm stopping because of you. That was the best answer. I'm not doing it anymore.
You mean to tell me you've actually signed your signature and dropped an F-bomb attached to it?
Bleep Dallas maybe 150 times so far.
Is there no level you will stoop to sell a book?
I want those copies back. I want to cross out the F word.
What is wrong with you, Angelo? What the heck?
No class. No class, Gunner. None. You just proved it.
Jeez. Look, you cover a wide range of topics in that book, from childhood to days in newspaper, obviously to your long illustrious stint in radio. Does the book accurately describe Angelo Cataldi's life? Because you even called yourself a self-proclaimed nerd in the book.
No, hello. Did you see me? Yeah. It was originally the original title. This is funny, right? The original title was How a Shy Nerd from Rhode Island Turned Up the Volume in the Most Passionate Sports City in America. So the guys from Chicago, the publishers, went, nobody gives a damn about Rhode Island. We got to get Philadelphia in it. So they changed it, and I agreed to that. But I was a nerd. I've never had any athletic ability. I've dedicated my life to criticize people who are great at athletics. And it was a hell of a ride. I loved it. I loved it when I covered teams, and I loved it when I got to talk about them at WIP. It was just so much fun. And what the book is there. It's dedicated, not to family members. It's dedicated to those fans that were there for me for 33 years. I have a debt to pay that I will never be able to.
Did it ever bother you that there was a percentage of fans that just hated Angelo Cataldi? Did you care about that?
No, there were websites. There were all sorts of people. And that's the thing you need to learn right away. We were talking earlier about Darius Slay taking offense with Seth Joyner. If you're going to go out there and throw all these stones, be ready to have them come back at you. They should come back at you. And actually, that part of it was kind of fun too. If I get into a feud, let me tell you one thing, Gunner. Over 33 years, I led the media in feuds, right? I had so many feuds.
That's right.
And I found it fun. It wasn't like these people were ever going to be my friend anyway. It was fun to have a feud. I feuded with, my favorite was Gabe Kapler.
I'm glad you brought that up.
I loved being in a feud with him. And I love when he got fired from the Giants job as their manager about a month or so ago. I was in San Francisco then. It brought me joy.
But I'm glad you brought up Kapler, because this is a guy who sent you a bouquet of flowers.
Yes, he did.
When you had your gallbladder removed.
That's right.
But you stood up and applauded when he got fired.
Yeah.
How do you straddle that fence between professionalism and personal feelings?
Not hard. He was a liar. All right. If you're going to go public and answer questions that these are not the correct answers, that whole thing with McCutcheon and Gene Segura, he knew that Segura not running led to the injury, and he came after me, and I went back at him. And it's like, you're lying to me. You're lying to the fans. That's the way I took it. I was offended by it. That's why I hated Andy Reid. He never answered a question honestly in 14 years. And he never won me a ring. So
he still answers questions the same way.
Same way. However, you know this better than I do. You know this better than I do. Doug Peterson, honest guy.
Yeah.
The most forthright man I ever met. Yeah. And he won me a championship. That's my hero. You want to know who my hero is over 33 years? Doug Peterson. Not Reid. Reid won me nothing.
I know a different side of Andy Reid because I know him so well. And I would always tell Andy, why don't you show this personality in front of a mic? He would always tell me, Gunner, they don't need to see that. All they need to know is what I want them to know, and that's it. Andy Reid is one of the funniest guys away from the microphone you ever wanted to meet. But in front of that, he did not care one iota about being funny, animated, embracing the media in front of that microphone. He was all about his business. That's the way he conducts it.
Why couldn't he share it with the fans? Your advice was great.
He didn't want to.
Good. I don't like him. How's that? You don't have to do that, and I don't have to like you. That's all.
Oh, good. Hey, I got to ask you this. Is there one or two interviews that you've done that will always stand out to you?
Well, all right. This was with Brookie. There were two at Brookie. All right, the first one was Bobby Knight.
Yeah.
Right? Nobody could get Bobby Knight on their show. It was
Okay.
1992.
Okay.
And Brookie gets Bobby Knight on because he knows him. And he's asking Bobby Knight a bunch of questions. And Bobby Knight was involved in some controversy. So I bide my time. Brookie never said I couldn't ask a question if it was a pal of his.
Right, right.
So I'm about 12, 15 minutes in the interview, and I insert myself into the interview, and I go, "Hey, Bobby," and I ask him some questions.
Oh, geez.
It's like this long pause, right? And then Bobby Knight goes, "Brookie, who the hell is that?" Brookie starts laughing just the way you are, and he goes, "Oh, that's my partner, Angelo Cataldi." And and the other one was also a Brookie right near the end of the time we were together. We were at the Wyndham Franklin Plaza, and my boyhood hero, the man I loved the most of all sports heroes, Will Chamberlain, showed up. He was selling a book then himself, the one where he said that he had slept with 20,000 women.
Yeah.
And he walked in to the lobby, and I looked up at this guy, and I went, "Wow." And to this day, Gunner, check the NBA record book.
Yeah.
Still the greatest player that ever played the game of basketball. And that day, I did not ask any tough questions. I was like a little kid who had met their boyhood hero.
Wow.
Will Chamberlain. To this day, all these years after he's passed, I still remember him so fondly.
Wow, that's Angelo. That's unbelievable. And I've had a few moments like that in my career as well, where sometimes you go blank. Something you think you want to ask a subject, it's like you're in awe of the presence of the person you're sitting in. So I understand exactly what you're saying, Angelo. You've had the pleasure to work with Rhea, Al, Jonesy, Joe Wechter, Cindy Webster through the years. How critical were they to your success, number one, and number two, what would they say about you as a coworker?
All right. I would not ask Al that question because I'm not sure what he would say. But I'll say this about Al Morgani. Every big decision made about our show, involving our show, he was the one that made it.
Okay.
They're much more practically intelligent than I would ever be. Okay. And Rhea Hughes was my favorite person ever to work with. And I say in the book, the last 5 years, I survived because of her. I relied on her expertise. I was not what I had been before, and she got me through it. And I don't think people noticed that much. She did so much of the heavy lifting, and she was great. Joe Wechter, the sound effects that was such a big part of our show, they were all his. Jonesy's lines, Keith Jones, the president of Flyers, the funniest lines he gave were in his ear from Joe Wechter. And Joe Conklin, the most talented guy I ever knew. He could do pretty much any voice. He could sing in most voices. I was so lucky to have those people and all the co-hosts that came along in the course of all those years. They were such a big part of it. And it was such an honor to be able to work with all those guys.
Hey, it's Jeff Mosher. I love the fall because football's back, but it's also my busiest season between work, kids going back to school, youth sports and activities. There's just not enough time, especially to make a good home-cooked meal. That's why I love HelloFresh. HelloFresh delivers farm-fresh food with pre-proportioned ingredients and seasonal recipes. 3, 2, 1. Hey, it's Jeff Mosher. I love the fall because football's back, but it's also my busiest season between work, kids going back to school, youth sports and activities. There's just not enough time, especially to make a good home-cooked meal. That's why I love HelloFresh. They deliver farm-fresh food with pre-proportioned ingredients and seasonal recipes right to my doorstep. No more wasting time at the grocery store because America's #1 meal kit helps make home cooking easy, efficient, and affordable. We don't waste time researching new recipes and planning meals. With HelloFresh, the shopping's already done. The perfect amount of ingredients arrive with step-by-step recipe cards. How efficient is that? Plus, HelloFresh saves you time and money. HelloFresh is 25% less expensive than takeout, so you'll get a home-cooked meal without digging deep into your wallet. Don't forget about taste and selection. HelloFresh makes food for meat lovers, seafood lovers, vegetarians, and those who love variety. My personal favorites are the spicy Creole stew and pecan-crusted trout, 2 dinners my whole family enjoyed, and we actually had time to sit down together and eat at the table. Go to HelloFresh.com/50Eagles and use the code 50Eagles for 50% off plus free shipping. That's HelloFresh.com/50Eagles. Use that code 50Eagles for 50% off plus free shipping. Act now for America's #1 meal kit.
Do you have a proudest moment in your career?
Wow. Not proud. I guess that when the Eagles won the Super Bowl, that's one of the happiest moments of my entire life. And whenever, that's what I always go to first, because I know what the feeling was when the ball hits the ground and the Eagles are beaten Bill Belichick and Tom Brady. And I know what's happening in the city and what it meant to all the people in the city. How many times, Gunner, that I got calls from people whose father passed away months later, who went, you know what? He passed away with a smile on his face because the Eagles won a Super Bowl. That'll always be the greatest moment. That's right up there with having kids and all the great things your kids do. It was just, as a sports fan, it was nothing like it.
What's next for Angelo? I mean, you've written a book. What's next?
This time I'm going to get it right. Lots more time with my grandkids and my kids and my son and my daughter and all those people. And I'm not kidding. This is where I'm going to watch my grandkids play soccer.
There you see? Yeah, see?
Gunner, they love it. They wear Lionel Messi jerseys around.
That's right. That's right.
But I'm going to do it. You know why? Because
embrace it.
Those are the next generations. And
that's right.
That's where my attention should turn. And I plan to do that.
Angelo Cataldi, I cannot thank you enough for stopping by Gun on One. Again, the book is out. It's called Loud. Where can you get the book?
You can get the book on my website, AngeloCataldi.com. I still got hardcovers. You can get them at Amazon. They're moving from hardcovers to paperback tomorrow, and you can get it. I've been in Barnes & Nobles, and they still got lots of them. And get them out there. And I will write whatever you want, even though Gunner doesn't approve.
No. So the final question is, when is Gunner get his copy, autographed copy minus the F-bomb?
Oh, that's on the way now. And I would like you to confirm right here, given all this stuff you couldn't always say about what was going on with the players. Gunner, I need you to do a memoir. I need you to write a book. Come on, Derrick Gunn. I can see it now, flying off the shelves.
Angelo, you have no idea how many people have asked me to write a book and say, you got to write a book talking about where the bodies are buried. Our friend Ike Reese and Hugh Douglas would always say, D Gunn knows where the bodies are buried. You know what my consistent response has been? Those bodies will stay buried because I would have to go in the witness protection program. I would not do that. I would never do that.
Wait till you're like 85.
No, because I'll be senile and I won't remember half of the stuff then. Angela, the book would be a flop then. If I did something like that, it would have to be fresh in the coffin up here, right? I can't do it at 85 because it's like it's a one-page book.
One thing you've proven here today, Gunner.
Yeah.
You're a lot better person than I'll ever be.
And on that note, we will end this edition of Gun on One. It is powered by the Inside the Birds Network, sponsored by my bookie, for my friend, and I'm proud to call him a friend, Angelo Cataldi. Thank you so much, man. And unfortunately, I'll be hitting you up somewhere down the road again to come on Gun on One later.
Gunner, it's an honor anytime. You're awesome, man. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, brother. Take care.